you know, and I don't really know what to say, so I just tell people to shut up and carry on, you know?
All right, Barich did win the roll here. Sees Sacred Foundry into Goblin Guide. Sees a word invention, though Barich's likely aware of what Fear was playing. Arkham's Astrolabe and Mox Opal on turn 1 for Fear. Goblin Guide reveals Nile Spellbomb. That one's no good here, and here's an Eidolon of Great Revel.
No, but that one is very good here. Harlan's deck is kind of designed around playing a bunch of these cheapo-beepo artifacts, and every time he does, Barich's Eidolon is going to ping him for 2.
All right, see what Fear can do from here. Wisely got the Mox Opal ahead of the Eidolon, but from 16, a lot of the spells are going to damage him. He'll start with a fetch land of 15.
Does have 2 copies main of Galvanic Blast, so could find an answer here, but Eidolon going to be chonking at his life total, so long as Barich did remember the triggers, but I have to imagine Barich is a master with this deck.
And Fear cast the Spell Bomb because it turned on the Opal. Had a Goblin Engineer, but you see Eidolon and Goblin Guide coming across. There was a Lava Spike, some issue with Fear's life total, but it's low, and now the game's over.
There's no issue with it.
Yeah, it's 20. It's 20 because it's game 2.
Because the game is over. We had our own Patrick Sullivan in the feature match area keeping life totals. He knew what was up.
Yeah.
Done.
No reason to update.
Reset.
0.
You know, you know the look on his face, right? When he's watching the match, it's just like eyes literally rolling into the back of his head. You know, why are you playing this Urza deck?
I think
fool.
I think Fear conceded at a good clip. I think that Patrick was probably happy with that concession.
We talking about good clip. He was literally dead. He took so much damage from. He had.
Casting that spell bomb into the Eidolon was not pretty.
6 from the Goblin Guide, 4 from the Eidolon triggers, 2 from the attack, a spike. You know, still 5 cards in hand or whatever.
This is the Modern that people come for. At least this is the Modern that I come for. I saw a little bit of that round 2 feature with Cedric and Patrick. That looked horrible.
Yeah. We had one of those types of matches. Me and you covered Jim Davis a while back, and I kept saying, you should give up, Jim. You can't possibly win. He was going to lose 1-0-1. But he actually drew the perfect card to win that game and draw the match, but he didn't do it. And then Cedric texted me and said, "What are you doing? Why are you saying that he can't win?"
I think you might have another text in coming.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the meta part, though, right? So if he does, I knew it was coming.
Yeah, you're ready for it this time. So
my point is that my brain starts to melt at some point in the middle of a game. If a game lasts more than 35 minutes, my brain starts to wander.
I can definitely do with more of these 5-minute games. You see we're underway for game number 2. Snow-covered swamp, double bobble for Fear on a mulligan to 6. Gonna take a look at the top card of Barich's deck. Draws on the upkeep. Sacred Foundry, Lava Spike this time, no guide. Fear to 17. Another bobble end step, draws 2 on his turn. A Pithing Needle in the holding. Scalding Tarn's the land. Looks like a Thopter Foundry's in there too. He's got the full Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo in hand.
Yeah, Barich has 4 copies of Smash the Smithereens in the sideboard to help stifle this combo, though. So
there's Thopter Foundry. Mox Opal was cast as well. Here's Pithing Needle. It turns on Metalcraft. And here is Collective Brutality, discarding Sword of the Meek. Skullcrack's going to catch that one, but we'll get a look at Barich's hand. 1 of 2 Boros Charms is discarded. Skewer the Critics, Sunbaked Canyon, Mountain Leftover. As well as that second Boros Charm. Monastery Swift Spear plus Boros Charm. 6 comes across. I believe I'm seeing Fear's life total at 7. Spire of Industries the land. So sacrificing some artifact gets the chain going, so the Pithing Needle's gone. 4 Thopters show up, Fear to 11.
I'll do it.
Barich has seen enough.
I was waiting for a moment to chime in that spot, but the game, it was over too fast.
Would you call that a concession at a good clip?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Barich knows that the burn deck really going to struggle against 2 turns of the Thopters because it's not just the life. The Thopters just kill you.
Yeah, and on top of that, like even if Barich does find the Smash of Smithereens, blowing up the Thopter Foundry is still going to leave Harlan somewhere around 10 life, with Barich having just I think a Skewer the Critics in hand versus roughly 8 or 9 Thopters. Not a winning proposition.
Barich does get to be on the play for the deciding game number 3. You love to be in that position with Burn. And this is like the most gut-wrenching spot in all of Modern for me. Game 3 on the draw against Burn.
Yeah, and this is going to come down to whether or not Barich has a turn 1 Goblin Guide or Monastery Swiftspear. Those early creatures on turn 1 represent so much damage, and there it is.
Goblin Guide off of Inspiring Advantage. I think some discussion around the Goblin Guide trigger here. Not really sure.
Yeah, it says recorded, so we're going to probably resolve this as normal.
I think Fear must have grabbed 2 cards. That's why you see the shuffling here.
I see.
So we kept the top card separate. It's Polluted Delta that goes to Fear's hand. The rest of the deck is shuffled. Goes to 18. We'll go to Fear's turn.
And even though Barich is giving Fear extra spells or extra cards in general by giving him some lands, it's all about whether or not he has enough time to translate those into actual resources. The burn deck's trying to constrict the amount of turns played in a game as close to 0 as possible. Usually you can close the game out around turn 3 or 4 with no resistance from the opponent. We're going to see here if Harlan has a way to interact with his Goblin Guide and the future threats that Barich presents.
Pre-combat, you saw Barich shock here. You saw a fetch before the Goblin Guide trigger resolved. Fear picked up another land. Before damage, Fatal Push targets Goblin Guide, and Boros Charm defends. It's going to make the creature indestructible. So Fear takes the 2 again to 15.
The only reason you would do that is if you don't have a good follow-up and you expect the Goblin Guide to represent more than 4 damage.
And here's what it is, just a handful of spells. It's Collective Brutality takes care of the guide and gets a lightning bolt out of Barich's hand.
Yeah, Collective Brutality is exactly that, brutal. Against these burn decks, it not only represents a removal spell for one of their really strong early threats, but the life buffer you can gain or the taking a spell from their hand are just all insanely good. All 3 modes are just backbreaking.
Pithing Needle now for Fear. Barich cracked Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card in response. You see a Pyrite Spellbomb for Fear. A Rift Bolt hit Fear, and now a Skewer the Critic, so Fear at 9 off of a fetch.
Oh, the 9 feels a little dangerous, but I guess he needs the extra blue for the War of Invention in hand. He does have the Thopter Foundry, so this turn he can War of Invention for the Sword of the Meek, untap, cast Thopter Foundry, or vice versa. Either way.
So cast Thopter Foundry, has that Whir, so he cannot cast it currently.
Yeah, it's not like Convoke. Even if you have a blue artifact, you can't tap it to pay for the blue.
End step here is Smash to Smithereens.
Woof.
So Fear has Welding Jar, or the ability to sacrifice the artifact to the Foundry. It looks like he just defended his Pithing Needle. Went to 6. Here's Monastery Swiftspear. Pyrite Spellbomb targets that. Here's a spell in response. I think Skullcrack. So 5 coming across. Fear to 1.
Yeah, but Harlan's going to be sacrificing an artifact here and chump blocking the Swiftspear. I believe he used the Spellbomb before blocks, so he was able to still block and trade with the Swiftspear.
Also gets to sacrifice in response to the crack, so life total a little bit different there.
Yeah, going to go ahead and fetch up the 3rd blue and Convoke, or not Convoke, Inspire? I don't know.
Ooh, so here's a nice piece of sideboard technology. So Fear hung out on 4, assembled the combo, but Barich top decks to Kotley Honor Guard. Creatures entering the battlefield cannot cost abilities to trigger. That means that your Thopters don't bring back your Sword of the Meek.
That makes me mad.
And
that
now,
makes me so mad.
Now the game's gonna get slow.
Well, at some point, Harlan can just say, screw it, sacrifice all 5 artifacts he has on the battlefield, go to 9, and just start attacking Barich for large chunks of damage. I would not be surprised to see something very similar to that in just a moment.
See a Smash to Smithereens on an M-Step here.
My guess is this targeting the Thopter. I don't believe you can sack tokens to Thopter Foundry.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
But if Barich is targeting Sword of the Meek, then okay.
Yeah, so Fear to 1 off of that, though has a grip of artifacts to gain life and turn into Thopters with those Foundries. He'll start with turning the Astrolabe into 1, going to 2. Going to turn the Sword of the Meek into another, goes to 3. That's going to stay in the graveyard for now and goes back to 4, sacrificing the redundant copy of the Thopter Foundry. So it's 3 Thopters against the Honor Guard. And from 4, Fear probably just wants to hang back to block. Ooh, but here's War of Invention. Just finds Arkham's Astrolabe.
Yeah, I was really excited about the War of Invention, and then I realized that it's not going to get anything super good. You know, a redundant Pirate Spell Bomb is not going to actually kill the Tocatli Honor Guard, so cycling, fixing colors, getting more food for the Thopter Foundry itself.
So Fear decided to get a little bit of aggressive, attacked with 2 Thopters.
Oh,
some comment happened, but now there's Fatal Push, and now Fear can pull ahead.
Yeah, the Fatal Push revolts really, really strong there. I guess the revolt didn't matter. It only cost 2. Whatever.
And Fear ends up closing it down. That Honor Guard looked good for a second. There was a couple turns where Barich could have top decked Boros Charm, but Harlan Fear is going to advance to 3-0. As he's saying, his physical 75-card deck has not failed to top deck and open, whether it was in his hands or he lent the deck to another top deck.